Bruce alone.
Yes.
Fritz. Mayor. Moran. Eustace. Rice. Tumanello. Winfrey. Freitag. We do have a quorum. We also have Mr. Brooks present.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes going into old business update of the Laeraway facility construction and deliberations, Leopardo and DLR. Delivery routines from Leopardo and DLR. Morning. Morning.
Hello.
Thank you.
Mike wants to borrow your purse. That's a nice purse.
The fashion statement. Look at here.
I'm gonna have to
The colors, I mean, they caught my eye.
dress like ice cream.
Appreciation for fashion, right?
It's my business, then. It's my business. Big pack.
Yeah, I did bring this off,
No, I got about 20. Can't have. Oh, Mary needs one. Press Austin, yes. But that's me. And that's on each one.
Does anybody have one on the table?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right, so, hi, I'm Lee. Most of you have seen me here before, from Leopardo, and I really just wanted to fill you in on where we are at since the last time we met. We have actually opened bid package number 1 for the sheriff's facility. We opened it the day after we met with you in reviewing the GMP. We did receive 36 bids, and the bid categories that we opened that day were pretty much related to very early items in the project. We did this in order to keep the project on a fast-track schedule. So they're mostly related to the site work and structure of the building. And those groups include site concrete, building concrete, waterproofing of the elevator pits, the elevators, generators, site electric, landscaping, asphalt, site utilities, earthwork, structural steel, and then miscellaneous steel. Okay? So that's essentially 12 bid categories. Out of the 12 bid categories, we have to rebid 2 of those because we did not receive any qualified bids. There were bids received, but they were disqualified because they did not fill out all the Will County requirements. And they have been re-educated on that so that they can participate in the next round. We're rolling those 2 categories, which was the elevators and generators, into bid package 2, which is going out tomorrow on the street, just so you're all aware. And then we did roll one of the bid categories into another bid category through the bid process. We bid the waterproofing, which is a very small scope, of the elevator pits as a separate component. We also bid it as alternate adds to the building concrete, because sometimes you package those things together. We just basically try to get pricing both ways, because sometimes it's a difficult bid category to get bids on because it's just a small item. So we did receive some alternate bids on the waterproofing through the building concrete, which were better competitively price-wise than the individual pricing, so we rolled it into the building concrete. So what you're getting from us is essentially the award recommendations for these 8 categories, okay? So we did post bid meetings with all 8 of the low qualified bidders in each of the categories, and of the 8 that we're recommending to Will County today, 6 are actually located in Will County, which we thought was fantastic. The folks that are related to that are PT Faro for the paving, Bisping for the earthwork, Concrete by Wagner for both site and building concrete, Allied for the landscaping, and Austin Tyler for the site utilities. Let's see, then I think the one other thing I should mention is with the missed metals, I'm sorry. Yes, the Elliott Electrical, they're Cold City, right? So they're not technically Will County, but very close. Right. Very close. And so with the missed metals, one thing I also want to mention too is that we received a bid from the same bidder that was the structural steel folks, and that was a bid that we had delayed because there was a later addendum with some more information. We received that bid, we posted them as well, so they'll be recommended for both the structural steel and the miscellaneous steel package, which is a nice package to bring together. Last week, we did complete an outreach presentation to the local community, getting them prepared for the next couple of bid packages that are coming out. It was attended by 21 subcontractors, 15 of whom we've confirmed are from Will County. So I just wanted to share that information with you as well. The bid package number 2, which I mentioned earlier, will be going out tomorrow. And we have a pre-bid meeting for the bid package number 2 on the 24th of August, which is next Wednesday. Not tomorrow, Wednesday, but the following week. And that bid package number 2 is the exterior enclosure of the building, which means the cementitious panels, the masonry, the glazing, the roofing, things like that. It will also include the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection and security components. And we will also rebid the generators and elevators in this bid package, as I mentioned earlier. So that will be in the package that goes out for bid tomorrow. The award recs that we're putting before you today, I understand will go forward with board approval on Thursday, assuming everything is acceptable. For bid package number 2, the award recs we'll bring forward to you. We'll submit them to the executive branch on the 14th of September. And they'll need approval on the 19th of September to keep the schedule on track, because once we get started, and we are scheduled to start on September 15th, we'll need to keep the ball rolling. So I just wanted to make sure everyone is aware of those dates. And then the last thing in kind of big picture I wanted to mention before I get into kind of the detail of the award recs themselves, is that, as I said, we're going to start on September 15th. I believe a tentative date has been thrown out for the groundbreaking as October 7th at 10 a.m. I don't think that's been entirely confirmed yet, but that's the date that I believe Dave is working on right now.
Bruce, I thought the CAP committee was approving the bids. Board approval too?
I think that was a discussion in the state's attorney's office.
Right, because under the contract with Leopardo, it says the owner shall approve the contracts. Now, in that contract, it does define owner as the owner's agent for taking action on a daily basis, but we haven't identified anything.
Okay, so I think that's on the agenda
So
a little later
Yes.
today.
So,
Do that.
for now, it's going to county board until an owner's agent is identified.
Okay, that's
Keep
why
this going.
that's on. Okay.
So does anybody have any questions on what I've mentioned so far? Okay. So the package that you have in front of you is essentially the award recommendations for each of those big categories that I mentioned earlier. And I just wanted to explain the format a little bit, and then I'm not going to go through in minute detail of each section, but give you an opportunity to obviously ask any questions that you might have. So essentially, if you take, say, for instance, on the top package, which says PT Faro Construction for the asphalt paving and striping. So what we essentially do with the format of this award rec letter is we list all the bids that were received. We note if someone was disqualified for some reason during the public reading of the bids. We note that. We share the estimate for that particular budget line item that's in our GMP, okay? And then what we do is we have the anticipated expense related to that trade, which includes their base bid and may include some accepted alternates that were discussed with the project team and we're recommending be included in a proposal. And so the final number that we recommend as the anticipated expense would have any of those additional alternates included in that number as essentially to be reconciled against the budget line item in the GMP. Then we give you the date, which is item number 1, when we need to have the award recommendation approved by whichever body will be approving it, and so that in order to maintain the project schedule. So we give you that date. Now we had the 15th here because that was actually yesterday. It's not an issue for this to wait until Thursday, which I believe is when it'll be formally approved because of this issue of identifying the owner agent, right? So it'll be this Thursday, right? So that will not be an issue. And then we go into item 2, which is scope qualifications and clarifications. This essentially lists the bidding documents that were used relative to these scopes. So if there's any question, what was the scope that they bid these particular items off of? These are the lists. Includes the original set of drawings and then any addenda that were issued during the bidding process. Okay, and then we go to items 3 and 4, which lists the alternates that were either accepted or not accepted, so that you understand what those are and what those values are, and whether they were included or not in the recommended expense line item. And then we get down into allowances. In a few of these contracts, we'll recommend allowances be included inside that particular trade line item. The reason for this is essentially when you do a fast track set of bid packages, you have a portion of the project that the design is complete and you're going out for bid, and you have portions that are incomplete, okay? And so you know that there's some scope that's going to happen. It needs to happen. You know there's going to be some cost associated with it, but you don't know exactly what that scope is yet because that particular piece of the design is not done. So what we do is we know that is a cost that's coming. We finalize it, we include an allowance for that in there so you have a complete cost in the award recommendation. And then what we do is when that cost is recognized or realized in the course of the project, we reconcile it against the allowance. And it's essentially a way to make sure that we don't miss some of those little odds and ends between bid packages, because when you speed up and accelerate the process, you do end up with some overlap there, that some coordination issues that need to be kind of resolved as you complete the design on the later packages. So that's essentially what those allowances are. And any allowance dollars that are not used basically go back to the county. So that's how that works. Then you get into the work scope description, which really just explains any potential, call it assumptions, clarifications, or exclusions that have come through the process of the bid that we received and the post-bid meetings. Most cases we have none. It's under very rare cases that we have something. If we do, this is where we note it so that you're aware of it. And then we list the dollar amount being recommended and have a spot for signature from the executive board. And I'm not sure if this is the appropriate signature way to do this, but this is the way we've set it up for now, and if that needs to be adjusted after the meeting on Thursday, we'll adjust. So there's essentially one of these for each of the bid categories that I discussed. So I think that essentially gives you the information you need. Big picture, $4.9 million in trades bid, and we were unders in every case, essentially. So we have gotten off to a great start with bidding. So I don't think I really have anything more to add. I'd love to have any questions.
This is one of the states. Under the acknowledged, once we make a decision on who the owner is, would this go to the executive office for signature, or would that come out of this committee?
I'm going to have to look at that a little bit and see who the authorized signatory will be.
Because if it was over at the other facility, that would, or at the planning, that would, they would just sign off
It
on
would
it.
have been, yeah, Mel Rule would
Mel
have
would
done
have
it
been
as the
signature.
director.
Right.
But
Would that be the chair, right, the one side of our committee, would that be the chair of the committee? Or designate, or could we designate as a signatory?
I mean, it would seem like you would need a staff person who's going to be here to sign.
Maybe even the chief of staff?
Well, I think that's something too we had discussed as we were discussing whether owners are up or, having, Dave be that person. Since he's been reporting to us, and he will be pretty much on site with these guys, has been with these guys. But I guess that would be,
But these are the I guess I'm referring to the contracts and the bid contracts and those kind of things, and where that would come from, versus just the day-to-day change order kind of stuff.
Right, and typically the county executive will have signed off on that. The county executive will be signing off on the designation of the owner's agent. That will have to be a resolution that will go to county board.
So contracts probably would go through the.
I would think that would be an option.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Thank you, Lee.
No questions?
Any other questions?
Good.
Good start.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you on Thursday. All right. Next up, Jason.
Morning.
Morning.
So I've got a little exhibit here before I get into that. I'll be talking about this exhibit in a minute, but let me give you kind of update on a couple other things. We talked at the last committee meeting about schedule. We are wrapping up our schematic design deliverable on Friday this week. So from there, we share it with the rest of the team, work with Tom closely. Tom's group will then start working on some estimating. We may fill in some blanks on that. But at that point, another thing we're looking to do with that schematic design deliverable is do a little more intensive review process to make sure everybody understands what we've documented so far, where we're at and everything. So we're targeting kind of the week of August 29th and September 5th to really go through that and make sure. I mean, we've been meeting with the users regularly through the whole process, but sometimes it's nice to kind of have the whole package together and see it and all that to make sure everybody understands and is on board with all the decisions that are being made so far. Ultimately, what that all will lead to is we'd like to make a little more in-depth presentation to this committee, and we're targeting September 20th to have that. We feel at that time we'll have been able to kind of vet through a lot of the issues, really have gone through pricing, reconciled all of that, and have a good meaningful presentation for this group. So just a quick reminder, based on decision from the committee previously, we're still focused on a 10-story solution with 2 shelved floors with a total project cost budget of $195 million. So we continue to work on that as a target. One of the things that we've been trying to do with the users is still to maximize the number of courtrooms that we can accommodate in the building. So we've been testing a couple scenarios, and we'll show this in a lot more detail when we present the full schematic design. But we started out with a target for 4 courtrooms per floor in the main tower section. We've identified a couple floors in the building where we can accommodate potentially 5 courtrooms on the floor. So what that does is continue to maximize the potential. There's a couple issues we still have to sort through on that. I mean, it requires some special design consideration in that. There's also a process we need to go through with the administrative office filling a course just to kind of make sure all that detail is fine-tuned. So stay tuned on that, but just know that we're doing everything we can, working with the users to maximize potential within the building, within the project budget. Let's see what else here. I've got, I'll just talk for a minute about the graphic up on the screen. We have, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. So what this shows is the white box is just a footprint and first floor of the new courthouse facility. And then the two blue boxes on the south side of Washington Street are potential locations for secure judges parking. So I think if you all recall, when we presented a couple meetings back, we talked about just with the constraints of the budget, while we had really tried to get secured underground parking, issues with shallow bedrock and budget overall, we had to step away from that, and we're still looking at options to solve a secured judges parking component. So what you see on the screen, there's two kind of pink dots on the building. All of the public come in from the north side through security screening, but what we're looking at is a secured judges entry that would be located on the south side of the building. We've got two potential locations that we're still kind of fine tuning what's going to make the most sense. Some of that might be dictated on where parking's provided and some other logistics in the in the layout overall. But I just wanted to get this out there. Our thought was to look at these options and try to provide a couple different scenarios with budget parameters, because this scope was not included in the $195 million for the project. Did you have a question?
Well, how many spaces do we need?
We're looking at about 40 to 45 just to provide. Yeah, and part of that is because you don't need all of them day one, but as there's growth in the system, we're trying to provide some additional chambers in the building. So even as you look at things like satellite courts and that, you're going to have probably a couple more judges in courtrooms, and just providing a little bit extra capacity for secure parking. I think day one we could probably go with a little bit smaller footprint, but we're thinking, if we're planning for the future, it's better to provide a couple extra spaces, just so you don't have to change up a configuration on that down the road.
How many courtrooms do you?
Well, so as we start out on the project, we're looking to have 28 courtrooms in the initial build out. Then depending on how we can sort out the 5 courts per floor, it'll be between 34 and 38 total at ultimate build out once you build out the 2 shell floors.
And that secure parking also lets us put, like I say, for instance, the clerk down there, who might be the target of someone who's angry about paying money and that kind of thing.
Correct. In our initial programming, we had a parking spot designated for the circuit court as well. So it does give you a little bit of flexibility. And I mean, what we've talked about is you could go the whole range of options on this, and it'll all be dollars dependent. On kind of a more scaled back scenario, it would be a surface lot with security gates, security fencing, cameras, adequate lighting, all that I think is kind of an initial start point. And then I think you can kind of layer on from there whether you did, even more of an opaque screening to it or something, so it wasn't as visible. And then kind of more of an ultimate option would be to do a secure parking structure. With a secure parking structure, you have an option then to do a bridged connection from the deck to the building. But there again, you're start talking more significant dollars. And we if you tell us not to proceed in that route, that's fine. Right now, what we're saying is we're going to try to just test out a couple different scenarios and provide budget dollars to it just for your consideration, and then you can give us a little better direction on how you think we should proceed. And we have not gone through this in great detail with the users yet. I wanted to try to get some feedback from the committee here today. Sure.
The 2 dots there, are you looking at either or is there going to be 2 secured entrances?
It's probably an either or for the judges. I mean, we do have a back door connection for package delivery and some other things, but we're thinking it's better to sort of separate some of that, some of that process type stuff from where the judges would come in.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Where do the defendants come in? From the jail?
From the jail, if you see the dot kind of on the right side, there's a kind of open white box. I should borrow a laser pointer. But there's an open white box there that's a secured sally port. So just down and to the right of that.
Keep it over.
To the
Yeah,
right.
right there. That big white box there.
Breaking it
I
out.
would think that would make a difference about where you want the judges to come in. You wouldn't want them coming in anywhere near where.
Well, it's 2 completely separate operations in that way. I mean, the sally port it's going to be very different than what you have currently. Right now, you've got just that sort of lower level drive that's open air, and then they're walked in. In this case, they'd be brought over by transport vehicle inside of a secure space. Doors would be closed, and nobody would even know sort of that is the sales floor per se. So similar to kind of how it is at the ADF right now, where it's a fully enclosed secure sales floor. But that is part of the consideration. That location is just, I don't know, not as maybe desirable in terms of layout. That's why we've looked at a spot farther to the west, at the corner of Washington and Joliet there. So the two options, one on the west side there, you own kind of that whole property bounded with the red dashed line, but the one on the west side would involve demoing that old white brick building there to accommodate parking, whereas on the east side there, it's already just surface lot, and probably getting less impact. Part of the consideration is potentially just trying to make the shortest path across the street to get to the entry point. So, we're assuming that the judges would walk to one of the intersections there. So if it's on the east side, they'd walk to the intersection and then head west to the entry. If it's on the west side, they could just directly cross Washington, the crosswalk there, and directly into the door.
How many current spots do we have in each one?
You know what, I don't know the answer to that, because the lot actually extends down into the west a little bit, and then what we're showing on that west side, it's not as well defined in terms of the lot. I think there's some gravel there and some other things, so.
This
It's like
portion
36
down
on this
here is not really finished. I was actually just there this morning. And it's not really finished. There's brush and there's,
And where's Jordan parking going to be related to this? Where are we talking about?
down here.
South of China.
Further down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, be underneath it.
So they just moved it.
It looks like there's 36 cars.
On the other side of the track.
There's 36 cars in that west lot. Now, I'm sure.
With the building, you're going to be able to put more
Yeah,
than
you
40.
could put 45 easily.
Yeah, and again, these diagrams aren't exactly representative of the footprint area. I just
Right.
wanted more to kind of get some initial discussion going so we could then, fine tune this a little bit more and put some dollars to it.
I mean, we can't, dollar-wise, we can't do the underground parking, but we want to do the best we can. I know that was a concern of this committee. And so I think just if you're looking for a decision location-wise, I still think this side would be better. Again, is more close proximity, direct route into their entrance. I mean, that's what you're looking for, a direction we want.
I'm guessing you're looking to see if you want to try and get some numbers for a possible facility.
Yeah, I guess as much as anything, if you said, hey, definitely don't pursue this or that, but if you felt like, we were sort of on the right track with what your expectations were, we could fine tune this a little bit more, put some dollars to it, and then present it in a little bit greater detail as we finish our schematic design. The one question about the deck is, that's a more significant investment, one. It also starts to dictate, how you're going to use that site long-term.
We want to see that
I
open.
don't see
The
that
one
happening.
to the west is a flat lot.
Both options. I think if you did do a deck, it'd probably want to be on the east side just because for efficiency of layout, but either one of these shown right now could be just surface lot type of arrangement. And keep in mind that even if you decide to do a secured surface lot with security access gates and cameras and all those things right now, years from now, if you decide to do a deck or, it's a deck with a building, we're talking about way down the road, maybe consolidating agency office functions of state's attorney and the others into another building, they could go here. That's all stuff that can be accommodated in the future. If you start to build a small deck initially, then you kind of lock yourself.
You read my mind, because that's exactly what I was thinking here. We don't have to approach this at this point. I mean, to make this thing secure, to go in and put some kind of fencing that does not have vision into the lot, there's no way to see in there, so you can't get any kind of fix on who's walking in and out. Having that as close as we can so that they have an exit right there at the corner. I'm sure that, there'll be a sheriff or someone that would be posted at the entrance door. There would have to be. Pardon me?
Yeah, we have cameras.
Cameras? Yeah, cameras as well. They need that, but you gotta have some money people in there unless they're just gonna use a card or,
There's a number of, I think, operational things you could do to layer on additional security.
which would be a lot cheaper than putting up and fixing us into a situation where we're kind of stuck with a deck.
And we've talked about, just conceptually with the judiciary, a couple other operational parameters that could be done in special cases too that don't involve capital investment. So I think that, again, we wanted to get some preliminary feedback, and we're getting good feedback here today. Our next step would be to talk with the users a little bit more and just kind of flesh it out a little bit, talk about some operational pieces, and then try to finalize from there.
So is it in location B where a building has to be demolished? Okay, and is that, that's right?
Correct.
I can see the.
Yep, right, yeah, under the blue footprint there, yeah.
It's the white building with the center tires, that's what's.
Okay,
It's
so,
not going anywhere.
oh, it's going anywhere no matter what.
Well, we don't want it.
We,
So at some point, we're gonna get rid of it.
makes sense to do that as
Clear
part of our
storage?
demolition bid,
Well,
get that over with.
That's what I was getting at. Is it part of the demolition work that we're doing? Is that something that needs to be added on as an additional expense?
Yeah, right now, as we talked at the prior meeting, none of this scope is in the project budget. So this would be separate dollars. So I think then we'd have to just look at, what those costs are. I think if a decision is made to pursue one option or the other, and you want to make it part of the overall scope and tie demo work together, there's efficiencies with that. But it was, when we pulled the parking out of the basement for the project, we said we'll have to resolve that, but it wasn't part of the budgeted numbers we presented at that meeting at the Forest Reserve headquarters.
Well, we should still have the demo as an addendum to our
That should have
demo
been part of
bid.
the scope, right?
Well, for the demo of the First Midwest Bank, yes. Demo of this small building, no, because we weren't sure we were doing it. But certainly, again, if the decision is made that way, you can bid that as an alternate with
Right.
no difficulty at all.
But I think the overall scope was to include parking for judges. Now, as we progressed, the dollar amounts were too high for the underground, but I think overall, Jason, the scope still should include judges parking.
Well, yeah, the numbers that we presented at the Forest Reserve headquarters that morning, the budget numbers did
Right.
not include parking
Yeah,
because we
that's
pulled it
right.
out.
Okay.
Right, so I think the way we left it at that meeting was that we would talk about, what some options were to solve that,
Right.
solve that consideration, and then determine if there was, what cost implications that might have.
Okay.
So I think that's where we're at now, is we need to kind of, sort that out a little bit and then present, information.
And just to confirm,
Just so you guys know, you're talking about the white garage that came along with First Midwest Bank. That's the only place that I have for storage as of now. Because the warehouse, remember some of you took the tour of the warehouse, and the archiving became an issue also, which we never followed through doing anything with that. So that's really the only place I have to store anything. And as for parking now, we own that gravel lot where the city of Joliet employees park. And then there are approximately 280 spots that are in the fenced-in area.
Right.
And then the gravel lot probably could hold about 80 spots.
Maybe more.
So are you using that storage, Mike, as a short term while we're doing the domino, or do you need that long term?
I have nowhere else, so
Right, I
that
know
would be
that now.
long term. I have smoke house in there, salt trucks. We moved all of the furniture that was at EMCO building basement to that garage, because the basement is going to be storage for state's attorney and what.
where's the entrance? Question, where's the entrance, where's your access to that building?
The garage,
Yeah.
it's off of Joliet Street, it's 8 Joliet Street, so you have Washington and Joliet Street, so, right across from the
You're coming
Joliet.
in right through that area right there?
Yes. Yes.
So that would be a problem if we kept that building, because the judges would have to then walk down and around.
Well, why can't the judges park right on Washington Street where the lot is now?
Where are you talking? point so we know what we've done?
Here, is this where?
Yes, in the fenced-in area right now.
Because what I was saying was, it's about secure, since we can't do the underground, I want to do the second best thing, put them to closer proximity to their entrance.
Well, if their entrance is right across the street from Washington Street, I mean, they walk across the street right now. You know,
Right.
so enclosing their parking area and making it, you know, secure and all of that business, they still have to walk across the street.
Right.
You know, they still go out to lunch, you know, so they walk across the street, walk in their secure door, and move on. But I just wanted to make sure that you know that that building is being used. I mean, I have 2 salt trucks in there. The John Deere Gator that we use to plow all the sidewalks everywhere in the courthouse. Now that we take care of that courthouse area now, and we'll have to do the new courthouse. So, and any furniture that goes into surplus and stuff like that, that's what's stored in that garage right now.
And this is all that's going on right now. You know,
Right, I mean-
there's going to be tons of changes months from now, years from now.
Since
So
there's discussion
we can
right
find a
now,
new place for
I
you,
just wanna
as
make
long as we got a
sure-
place for you, right, Mike?
You got it.
All right, thanks.
I was gonna say we could do a cost comparison of what it would cost to, you know, move him or keep him where he is. But the other thing I was gonna say is perhaps if we did want to take the path of least resistance, use that more eastern parking lot, the more eastern entrance, maybe we could get the city of Joliet to give us permission to do a mid-block crosswalk, you know, so that they're technically not jaywalking.
They didn't give themselves storage. Right.
Jason, is there any possibility of moving that eastern dock to the other end of the Sally Port? I mean, I don't know what's at that spot. You know, I mean, if it's a Sally Port, what difference?
Well, right now, what we've got, I don't know if you can see what the handprint is here on the screen, but this is the secured staff elevators here. This is the Sally Port, and then this whole zone here is sheriff's security functions and other things, so it creates a little bit of a lower block. And then we've got, you probably can't see it real well, but there's 2 elevators right here that go down to the lower level central holding, so that's why it's difficult to come in there.
Well, travel, or like.
It's a real jigsaw puzzle of circulation paths.
Well, we haven't built it yet. Is there any way of flip-flopping? It's all on paper right now, right?
True, but we're trying to.
Redesigning costs money.
Yeah, it's about really trying to fit all those components in efficiently and keeping the adjacencies right. So that side's difficult. You know, things like you know, mid-block crosswalk or some of these other things, I think are all things we can look at. You know, and it's just making sure we've got a potential solution here that we can continue to fine-tune.
I think taking a look at that mid-walk cross is a good thing, and maybe looking at the east side and cutting that lot in half for security would be the best way to take a look at this, because if Mike's putting that kind of equipment in a garage, where else are you going to store something like that in the local downtown area that he's going to get quick access to be able to do snow plows and some of that other stuff? I mean, even if you would move it all the way out to Laeraway, that's a long truck to get it to come out this way. So I would kind of lean toward that with you would have the least amount of work to.
We could potentially shift that area south, try to preserve the building, and just shift the area south on the west side and rework the arrangement a little bit. And then
I mean, because I think we ultimately we need to look at is balancing the cost of a garage versus cost of redesigning the building, the elevators, and parking. So, I mean, but if you can shift the parking a little bit, we still have space for Mike, or we find other space, I mean, but regardless, I mean, I don't think a garage, a storage space, again, we have to make sure it's there for him, but that shouldn't be the biggest hump in all this.
Yeah, I think if you could find 45 spaces in there, which should be easy enough to determine, without knocking the building down, that makes the most sense to at least explore that opportunity for now. It's close to that corner. It secures the storage facility as well.
What's in the middle there that's not loop?
parcel you don't know.
That's a parcel we don't know.
That's still, we're still playing with that.
So we really don't want to do anything major in that piece until we.
Is that the open break building? Yeah.
That's open right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like maybe the city's parking some vehicles there.
Yeah, but I think it actually belongs to us.
It
People
does.
always interact, it's ours.
Yep.
So we
Yeah, we
take
can
that back.
potentially
Because
rework
that's
that
our-
arrangement.
Jason, if you could, I think to keep this moving, excuse me, if we can just keep this moving along, if you can come back, and if you've got some input from
Yeah.
people, and work some numbers and possibilities with still saving space for Mike, and again, keeping that line of sight pretty straight, building for them.
Yep, we can do that.
Okay.
No problem.
Next.
Thanks. I don't think I had anything else. You guys have any other updates too on sort of status?
Well, we're just, as Jason was saying, we're prepared to get the drawings coalition this Friday, the 19th, for the SD estimate. We've got our guys ready to go, look at some of these options, but then produce an SD estimate by 9/9. Gives us a
Just
week
clarify
before.
for the committee, SDS is.
Yeah. Schematic design estimate, that'll be our first major one beyond the conceptual we've already done. And then we'll have that done by September 9th. And then we'll prepare, then we'll be in here on the, on the 20th of September to present our schematic design estimate to the committee. And we'll be working with these guys in the meantime.
As long as it's under 195.
Otherwise, don't come.
Pretty much.
If you don't show up.
Just keep driving.
And then I'll just go. I can just talk a little bit about commissioning.
Yes.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yes,
Yes, please.
I definitely will. Mike Wolf at Farmers Group. It's been a couple months, I think, since I've seen everyone, and I know that we've had a few other Farmers Group people here, so it's a pleasure here being here today to fill in. There's probably 3 points here with the commissioning process, and not to get into too many of the details or the acronyms, but the last update we talked about the OPR, which is the Owner's Project Requirements Document, and that's going to be important because that really defines the key criteria for the facility that's going to go throughout all of design, construction, and operations. So that draft has been submitted. It's under review by the whole project team. The key areas are sustainability, energy efficiency, intended operations and maintenance, looking at some of the failure modes, potential risks, and resiliency of the building, and then also the building program. Then the second point is the BOD, the basis of design. So that's created by Jason's team and the design team to show how the design currently is meeting the OPR. So showing how the design meets those owner project requirements. And those have been submitted for the HVAC and plumbing. They're also in early stages, currently under review. And then the third part of the commissioning so far is that we're starting to talk and review some of the early design concepts. So as Jason mentioned, the schematic design package is going to be submitted, I think this week, Friday. So we will then dig into a little bit more of the review of that package. But right now we're talking about things like, for example, how the electrical distribution system ties in with the OPR. So we're looking at some of those early preliminary concepts of the building systems at this point and kind of weighing in with the design team. Any questions?
Like you mentioned, part of what the OPR does is what you're looking at, it's key, and when you say it's key, and then you mentioned operations, so when you're doing OPR, you're looking at how the design will make this building more efficient and look at, how we're going to operate this and, reduce operation or make it more efficient, correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Kind of looking at the balance points between, obviously cost, risk, constructability, operations. So all of those kind of key, but also at times competing criteria, right? Trying to find where's the best point. So that's what the OPR is documenting that, and then we use that as a guide when we have discussions with the design team.
And can that OPR change or
Absolutely.
as the project goes?
Yeah, OPR definitely is very flexible, so it kind of changes, you know, as things come up. But that change is always driven by the client. So,
Okay.
you know, Dave would always drive those changes. But, you know, as we're talking about things, if something just doesn't make sense, we might modify it in the OPR.
Yeah, I think that's very essential, and I would, like to see you at most of all of our meetings, because I think
Sure.
that's very instrumental for this community is, again, we want to have a very safe building, but we want to keep the costs down. We want to make sure it's efficient. We want to make sure it lasts, but operation costs is something that we're concerned as well, to keep that down. So as you work on that, and things change or update, we would really like to
Sure.
definitely see that. Thank you.
I just want to make a comment. I don't know, in my industry, there are a couple of magazines, Chicago Architecture and Interior Design Magazine. This project was mentioned in there. There was nice articles about it. I will mention, though, that there was some omission. Jason's name wasn't in there. And I just want Jason to know, we know you're working hard on this, even though the articles didn't mention it. Thanks.
Yeah, I might just say one quick thing about that anybody that might have seen it, I don't know, some of you may or may not know that we recently acquired the firm Lohan Anderson. Dirk Lohan's a pretty storied architect in the Chicagoland area, grandson of East Vanderbilt. So we've been getting, just to try to make this the best possible project we can, we've gotten some design review from him as part of our overall design team. So there was some publicity around that, but of course, as folks sometimes do, they make a mistake in terms of their terminology. So they represented the project a little bit incorrectly, so we corrected them on that. But I think that's where the omission came in that Mike was talking about.
We know you're working.
Where do we get a copy of that magazine? You got it, Mike?
Yeah, I can get the links on that.
Yeah.
The links. Sure, wait it.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Thank you guys so much. Any other old business? No. New business?
I've got something
Oh,
under business.
yes.
So, I actually just may be confused on the process, but last meeting, we had the spreadsheet. I think we voted this spreadsheet here. That's, I think, Leopardo Design and Construction Project spreadsheet. We had a motion to add a contingency, and I think what we have is identical to what we did have, so I just wanted clarification on that. Is there any change, or do we not see the change in the spreadsheet? I'm just trying to track the effect on the spreadsheet, I guess.
That is absolutely correct. And the spreadsheet that you're looking at, I do not believe indicate or shows the owner contingency. That was
Okay.
voted, that was approved.
So there will be a forthcoming
Yes.
change, and this is more.
Sorry about that. I should have had that taken care of.
Hey, Dave, can you update that? Can you put like updated in the date? That way, if you see one, you can just look at maybe the corner or the bottom, and then they can put it next to the old one and know that the latest one. So sometimes, yeah, but Lana could keep track of that too.
Okay.
Perfect. Sometimes we don't know, especially if we don't know what's updated.
Right.
We could highlight the update.
Yeah, you highlight the number, the change, it's easier to just pick up.
Okay. Great. New business delivery team payment schedule.
Okay, we could have saved it.
Yeah.
This, I don't, Lana, did they get these in the
Yes.
packet?
Yes. Yeah.
Previously, it was requested that we put a spreadsheet together that indicates stuff, that you wanted all future payments, payment approval to come to committee before the payments were submitted. If you look on your sheets, the payments in yellow are pending your approval. Since we didn't have this process from the inception, some prior payments were made, but from now on, they want everything to come to committee. So you'll see on each of the spreadsheets, there's currently pending payments for Leopardo, DLR, Gilbane, Weaver Consultants, and White. you'll see in yellow all of the pending payments that are awaiting your approval.
And the other ones we already approved?
The other ones
Sorry,
we
my
approved.
ignorance. Yeah.
Well, prior to, I mean, this process has been going on for,
Right.
well, years, so
Okay.
now that you have the second committee and you guys are kind of like our, you know, we come through you now, this process has changed, we come through you, pending payments will have to come here before they're made.
Just wanted to clarify that,
Yes.
so that the ones that aren't highlighted, we already approved.
Yes.
So, okay. I forgot my iPad, so. I don't have highlight.
Motion?
I need a motion on that.
Second?
Mike, second, all in favor?
Aye.
And again, that was for Leopardo, DLR, Gilbane, Weaver, and White.
And this, can I clarify, the motion is to pay these or to move them forward to county board? Or,
At this point, it would be to move them forward
Or
until
to
we
county
decide the
board.
next agenda item.
yeah, I thought they were on the agenda.
And then, again, just for clarification, you know, some say Nick Palmer, some say Dave Tack. I mean, does it?
Well,
why do we have-
prior to Dave, some of these, you have to realize, date back before he was here, so Nick,
Okay.
someone always had to sign off on things, but
Gotcha.
I don't, these contractors do not report to me.
Okay.
We hold the budgetary, so before county board paid anything, someone had to say, Melissa, they did the work, so someone did authorize all of these, and someone still
Okay.
does.
Okay.
Because they answer to the day-to-day people. And on some prior projects, Mike Miglerini was my key person, and he signed off on, and still does on some of those projects, still going forward on an EMCO building, the annex, which you are not included in these sheets, but someone has to sign off.
Correct. Mr.
Yes.
And then just one other point, and it's a very basic one, and I'm sure that one that would be appreciated as well. All costs allocated to the sheriff's or the Rural County Law Enforcement Complex.
Public safety.
Public safety, sorry.
Get it.
Okay. Old habits are hard. There's two capital funds that are set up, one for the new judicial complex, one for the new public safety complex. And so those will, every time I review and sign off on any of the invoices, they'll be coded.
Okay. Okay.
So that there's no mix-up between projects.
Okay, great.
So in the future here, we're not going to just see numbers, we're actually going to have a complete documentation on what these numbers reflect.
If you, we do have all,
I
do
mean, I'm
you
looking
want
at
the
what-
invoices
I'm-
in your packets?
I'm looking
No.
at, I mean, we really should see that. I don't want to just vote on numbers. I want to be able to say that if we're voting on Weaver Consulting Group, that this is related to 25 hours worth of work at this rate, just so that we know. I mean, what did you do, Dave, when you saw this? I mean, did you go and look at those kind of numbers when they submitted the
I review
invoices? You would review the invoices
Absolutely.
and all that. And so if we're going to be taking over that role and responsibility, we need to see that. I'm not going to just vote on a number that's out there.
Well, Dave still has to approve them. You're not taking over that. He still has to look at it, because these people answer to him daily. He still needs to sign off for me.
That he's doing,
Yeah.
that he's seeing that
But
stuff.
when
But I
Dave-
still would like to be able to see that.
Well, we can make copies for them.
Just that.
Yeah. Not a big deal.
Honestly, I don't see,
You know what, I'm not gonna vote on a number.
no, I'm not asking
I'm
that. I
just
just
not
didn't
gonna-
want to bog down staff and
You do
including
it
all
PVC.
of that in every packet. But if you would like it.
But we should have an
upon-
electronic copy.
Excuse me, if you would like that upon request, then you could probably get it. You know, I don't, I feel like we get so much information, and so, again, I would request it myself as well, but I just don't want to bog everyone down with those
Yeah.
attachments and then attach it.
I don't
So-
see this as, I mean, we're taking on a different role here, folks. This is not just a role where we're becoming more of an oversight committee for this whole building project. And I think just from a clarity standpoint, to make sure that we know what we're voting on and what this relates to, I think it's important that we see what the numbers are.
Dave, are you digitizing that stuff? I mean,
I mean,
Your
it's
invoices
digitized,
are-
I need a print copy.
yeah, I mean,
Usually I receive it from the consultants in the digital format, and then I'll
Yeah.
print it out, and then I review it. I like to go through the paper, and I know that Melissa likes the paper.
if you're already getting it,
They said-
We're gonna digital
but I do
copy should
have-
be on this package.
Yeah.
Yeah, you already get the
Okay.
digital. you
That's
just-
all I'm saying.
Okay. I didn't know,
Yeah.
it sounded a little more difficult. so I just wanted to make it easy.
Thank you. No, that's not a problem.
Now, what exactly will we be voting on? We're not voting on every invoice, are we? As this committee?
First,
And this is why pretty soon you're gonna be dealing with this, designating the owner's agent, which is going to be this committee. You know, in that respect, when you approve a bid package, that's going to go to the executive office for signature. It's going to be signed by him or his designated. Now, when you get these numbers in here, when you get these numbers in here, if it's going to be impossible, it's going to take you folks forever to move forward if you're going to go through every number that comes in. That's why you're going to be relying on whoever you designate to work with you, whether it be Dave or whomever, or me, or whoever else, to go through those numbers and verify them. And that's something that I think Dave is currently doing, along with Melissa. So you have two people that are doing that. Now, when this is on your agenda, those two people are going to come in here and they're going to say, we recommend that these be paid. Now, if you have a question, certainly you should ask the question. But don't, let me just finish, Chuck. I'm just recommending that you don't take over the function of staff, because when you take that function over, you also take responsibility over. And if you want that responsibility, I'm sure staff will be glad to give it to you.
Okay, and I would argue the point that as soon as we make a vote, Bruce, we've taken on that responsibility, and anything that we vote on falls on our shoulders, not staff shoulders. We can give staff a hard time, or we can get upset with staff if the information is not correct, or their recommendation is inappropriate, but the bottom line is us when we make a vote. And so I'm not saying that we're going to go over everything with a fine-tooth comb, but if I don't see numbers, if I don't see an invoice, if I don't know how to ask the question when I see $137,503. I could sit here and say, can you please give me a detailed information of what that number and information means? But until I actually see it, or I can go in and have something I can click on that just gives me a quick overview of that, I would respectfully disagree with you. And so if we go in and have this information available to us, if we want to look at it, we can look at it. If not, then we don't have to.
and you don't have to vote anything. This has been on the agenda, the numbers have been there. We are always, this committee and any county board member is always welcome to go to our staff and request additional information.
I don't want to have to go to someone. I want it there in front of me. If you already have it in a digital form, it's open government. Put it in our records here. It's real easy.
I hear you, Mr. Mayor. I think we'll work with the auditor. He puts most of our bills online anyways. So if we can have a section online for those that want transparency,
absolutely,
you can go look at those to your heart's content. You know, in the meantime, staff will continue to come in here and recommend either they be paid or not paid.
Absolutely.
And if there's a problem, hopefully it'll be cleared up before it gets here. And I would note that through the course of a year, you are voting all the time on items that you do not have that kind of a detail. And yet you are going to be responsible if something goes wrong.
And we are taking on a different role here with a huge project that is probably the largest that this county has seen ever. And I want to just make sure that we have access to the information if someone wants to look at it.
And I agree with you, Chuck, please, I don't want to minimize any other capital project or any other project or vote that this.
There's no minimalization here, this is a fact.
Excuse me, I don't want to minimize any other project or any other vote that we do, because everything we do here is important. So this project is just important as anything else that we work on. Beth?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair.
The other problem, and I tend to agree with Bruce, is that I'm not going to go down to Laeraway Road and make sure that they did the sewer and water right. Okay? I can look at an invoice and it says they were supposed to do A, B, C, and D, but I still have to take Dave's word for it that they actually did A, B, C, and D, and that they did it correctly. So, yeah, having some detail of what are we paying for, that's nice, but I'm not going to go check on it. Okay, I'm not. And you're not, and you're not, and you're not.
Yeah, I'm not.
So
That's why I
So,
want the details so that we can ask the
you know,
questions.
I think it's,
Yeah,
I think it's a cogent point that, you know, it's really Dave or whoever we appoint to oversee these things day to day, who's making sure these are the things that are in the contract and those are the things that were actually done.
I was trying to draw attention.
Sorry.
I'm drawing attention to this.
Another thing too, Lana reminded me that these are going to county board, so these will be in your packet. So the actual roll checks, so you'll have all of the invoices, all of the details.
That's all I'm asking.
Is this something that we could include on the Capitol website, maybe, another section on there rather than the auditor's website? I don't know.
Everything goes on the auditor's website for
Okay.
this, that's just something he does.
Okay.
Eventually, these will all appear there.
Okay.
But that's
But this
eventual
is-
versus.
Well, you gotta get them scanned in, the staff has to enter them, so it is eventual. But these will be in your county board packets, and you'll get all the detail.
Anything else? Number 2, designating the owner's agent, which kind of touched upon already, that.
We need a motion.
Okay, need a motion to.
I'm making that motion to approve this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's what I was trying to finish. I'm making a motion to assign this committee as, or designate this committee as owner's agent. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Any other new business? No public comment? Anyone for public comment? Last call for public comment. No executive session, I believe, Mary. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.